watch this Frank vid.
Asking what happened to my family, and these gang stalkers, these people I keep referring to as the elite secret society members, have, I guess you could say, successfully ruined my life even before my face was completely botched. This guy, Paul Saladino, hated me so much, he kept serving my family court papers and kept pulling these LLCs and sending all these legal documents to my parents' house, which should have been enough grounds for dismissal of the lawsuit, harassing a party's family. But these corrupt lunatics are trying to get away with way too much. And they've been doing this to me for years and years and years. You guys are witnessing in real time, it's happening right now. We're still in the process of it. It hasn't completely happened yet. You're witnessing in real time how these elite secret society members, Freemason, Illuminati, use the court system to steal from and shut down any competition. In this case, me being the truth. So if you want an idea of how evil this guy Saladino is, some of you might remember when I donated $33,000 after my surgery to blind people. I took out a line of credit. I gave away.
He did not donate $33,000 to blind people. He provided absolutely no evidence for that. He claimed he did some giveaway for people who claim to be blind or have a blind family member, but where's the proof of that? Like, he didn't donate to a charity. There's no receipt or proof that he donated to anything.
$1,000 to 33 different people. That was around 2 years ago now. At that time, he had his lawyer write this letter to the court. Court decision still hasn't been made yet to this day. He wrote this letter to the court telling them to make a decision before I give away the money, before I donate money to blind people. So me saying that Paul Saladino wanted to steal money from blind and disabled people, that is a factually correct statement. How crazy can you be? And you can look this up on the court docket. He had his lawyer write a letter to the court saying that you need to make a decision on this case. Okay. He's giving money to blind and disabled people. Of course, the judge didn't buy any of that, but he did issue an unlawful judgment which violates my amendment rights. It's legal misconduct. It doesn't abide by the rules of the court or any of the statutes named in the case. And I can't really explain things in as much detail as I'd like to, but I will read the judgment and then my appeal to this judgment, which I filed last week. And I believe I already made a similar video to this, so I'll just add the stuff that is new. And the only reason I'm doing this again is because I'm allowed to say his name. I just have to be careful what I say. Order of default, ordered a judge and decree that plaintiff, Paul Saladino, is hereby entitled to and is granted a judgment of default as to each and every claim as against each named defendant, Frank Tufano and Frankie's Arrangement LLC, on the issue of liability. Ordered a judge and decree that defendants shall forthwith or within a reasonable amount of time permanently transfer the domain name to plaintiff. Ordered a judgment. So I own the domain, paulsaladino.com, legally, and was using it to show videos on my YouTube channel legally. But he was able to steal this domain from me.
You can't just own a domain of somebody else's name, so that's not true. And the way he was using it was also illegal. He was posing as Paul Saladino and defaming Paul Saladino and his business.
Defendants are enjoined from making public...
So he literally made a website. It was like paulsaladino.com. And he was posting videos on it claiming Paul is a child rapist. And then he's claiming, oh, I did nothing wrong. It was all legal.
That plaintiff copied, plagiarized, stole, or otherwise improperly used defendants or any other third party's work, engages in dishonest practices in connection with his business, trade, or profession, abuses prescription or illegal drugs, improperly or illegally manipulates social media posts, or engages in any inappropriate sexual activity. So that's basically violating my freedom of speech. But now I'm not allowed to talk about any...
You do not have... Freedom of speech does not protect you from libel. So you can't just accuse somebody of raping children. That's not protected speech, you idiot.
Of the events that factually happened to me because this judge is corrupt.
Oh my God.
Ordered a judge and decree that defendants are directed to forthwith remove and delete all of the defamatory videos on defendant's YouTube channel related to plaintiff as further set forth. Ordered a judge and decree further violations of my First Amendment freedom of speech. And then they said we have to schedule a hearing on assessment of damages. So everything about this judgment is wrong. The default judgment was never served on me. It was served on my parents' house. And I should have gotten into that earlier, but basically all the legal paperwork going to my parents' house, them getting involved in the lawsuits, they became very...
Oh my God, he's an idiot. So he didn't have his own place. He was living at his parents' house, and some of his business documents had his parents' house listed as his place of business.
Distressed and on psychiatric medication. I got kicked out of my childhood home I'd been living in since my whole life. I got
Buddy, you're an adult. Like this guy was 30 years old when he got kicked out of his parents' house. You're an adult.
kicked out of my home, and I had to move out. And I've kind of never been the same since, but I kept it off the YouTube channel because it
Buddy, you're an adult. Like, oh my god. What like, this guy is so entitled.
doesn't really matter. These people just censor and shadow ban me, and no one wants to help me. And
Like, by the way, it's hilarious. He's blaming Paul for his parents kicking him out of his parents' house? Like, he's so fucking retarded.
I haven't been in contact with my family for a few years now, all because of how these people treated myself and my family. And you know, I'm able to take the stress, and I'm able to understand what these people are doing to me and not let it get to me. But that wasn't the same. It wasn't the same case with my parents, and they're both still currently under psychiatric treatment and taking all these drugs they never had to take before. So it's very upsetting what these people have done to me, and because they own all the social media platforms, they'll never get exposed for it, because if people did know the truth, all these people would be canceled off of social media. You know, how evil is it that these people, Paul Saladino, his lawyer David Lynn, all these other people behind the scenes have done this to me because all I did was speak the truth and try to defend my own work. So yeah, that default judgment that the judge ordered, I never received the actual paperwork from the lawyer. It was sent to my parents' house, which I was kicked out. I no longer resided there, and the court accepted that affidavit of service, which is perjury. So there should have been no default judgment in the first place. And the lawyer still cannot prove that he never served me the default judgment. It still, to this day, has never been served, and they have no proof that I received that paperwork, yet the court is still going along with this. So that should have...
It's in the court document. You lost by default judgment.
That should have been enough grounds to dismiss the entire case. A second issue is that the entity, Frankie Strange Meat LLC, has no subject matter jurisdiction. Should never have been included in the case. No legal basis for including my business in this case, and that should have been dismissed. Another reason to entirely dismiss the case. Third issue, all of these statements, these public statements that they consider defamatory, are not. They're factual, they're my opinions, and this is direct.
Oh. What a fucking idiot.
Directly violating my freedom of speech, and now the YouTube video is being forcibly removed, also damages my business and all those factual statements I was saying at the time. And then the fifth problem is he unlawfully took this domain name from me. As I said earlier, I wasn't violating any trademark laws. I was not advertising or conducting business on this website. I was exercising the same freedom of speech that I was in these videos on that domain name. So this guy's lawyer, David D. Lynn, and all the people involved in this court are complete, lying, corrupt, secret society members. I mean, they're just doing their job. They're defending their own. They've sworn oaths. These people, to join these secret societies, the first thing you do is you swear an oath. Otherwise, you will be killed. That is the very first thing you swear when you join these secret societies.
And you're made to understand that you're putting your hands on this huge, it's like a pulpit Bible, you know, big King James Bible. And this guy comes forward, this worshipful master, and he says, you know, we're going to lead you through this oath. And I'm not going to go through the whole oath, it's going to take like 5 minutes, but it's this long, involved, and ultimately blood-curdling oath. At the end, you say, you swear, the essence of the oath is to keep the secrets of an entered apprentice mason, which of course I'm violating right now. And then at the end, you swear that if I should ever reveal the secrets of an entered apprentice mason, that I swear that I will have my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by the roots, and buried in the sands of the sea, where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours, should I ever knowingly violate this, my entered apprentice obligation. So help me God and keep me steadfast to the due performance of the same.
And I guarantee you all of these judges, these people in power, these people in positions are members of these societies where they hold oaths that take precedent over a court, over the court. So this guy, David Lynn, he committed perjury in the initial default judgment. He claimed other business income was mine. So he goes and gets all these documents from PayPal and Shopify and other LLCs, because I'm broke.
He's completely fucking lost it.
He cannot find any legitimate information, any legitimate bank accounts or anything that shows I made money, because I didn't. So he goes and takes all these other companies, all these other financial documents, tries to link them to me. I show it to the court, and the court pretends like he didn't do that. And LLCs...
So Paul was able to get Frank's, I think, T1s. And yeah, he took in, I think, $5.5 million in income in like 2024.
Separate assets. And they're just mixing all stuff together, which is like him saying, oh, Google made $5 billion this year, so we need to take the money from Frank Tufano. It's so blatantly ridiculous, and another reason for them, enough grounds to dismiss this case. So it's a ridiculous list of legal malpractice, court misconduct. There's probably over a dozen legitimate reasons they could have dismissed this case. And on top of that, them, ruining my personal life, getting me kicked out of my house, which also resulted in me losing my job.
Is Frank lying, or is he just fucking retarded?
Well, I don't see why it couldn't be both. Thanks for the donation though, retard.
In New York, I lost my salary job, which was how I actually made money because my business wasn't profitable. All of that stuff is called tortious interference, and the judge hasn't seemed to care. I filed multiple different lawsuits. They're basically, this is how they steal money from you. They file a lawsuit against you. The judge does not let you do anything. This case has been going on for 5 years, and out of the, I don't know, there's over like 100 notes on that docket now. The hundreds of decisions that have been made by the court, not one of them was in my favor. Not one of them. Not one, and that's so they file the case in the court against you. Most people haven't been able to defend themselves as well as I have. They don't let you do anything. They deny all your motions. They deny everything you say. They blatantly lie. They don't follow their own rules. They commit perjury. He filed this thing through the Latham Act, which is about trademark infringement. He never even registered a trademark. They don't follow their own rules. If you even bother to read them and find out that they're a bunch of liars. And then they just push it through, get the denial. They're trying to push this judgment against me and then try to go and collect any personal assets that I have, which is completely crazy in the circumstances of this, as I've done nothing wrong. So, this is the case filed, United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. We actually filed this back in May, but the court didn't accept it. They said there was like a filing error and they never notified me. This is what they do, They deny your documents for BS reasons. They say there's filing errors and a whole bunch of nonsense, and then they don't notify you of it. So they were pushing that case through for several months before I figured out that I had to refile this appeal. So that video that some of you guys remember me talking about this, I had to refile it again. So we spoke about this. The proper service for the initial default judgment wasn't made. Frank Tufano's First and Seventh Amendment rights have been violated. Freedom of speech, and I haven't been given a jury trial. Malpractice by both lawyers in violation of the court code of conduct. None of my lawyers helped me, and Saladino's lawyers, crooked as hell, committing perjury and committing fraud with the subpoenas without suffering any consequences. Plaintiff's claim for money damages is fabricated. Yeah, they're just making stuff up. They never lost any money because no one really saw my videos besides my own viewers because I'm shadow banned and censored. And this guy Saladino, now he's got tens of millions of followers, and I have the exact same amount of followers that I had several years ago. So this is another thing I recently added. Plaintiff's claims should have been dismissed under anti-SLAPP law. So strategic lawsuits against public participation are lawsuits filed to silence critics by burdening them with the cost and stress of litigation, even if the claims are without merit. So New York Consolidated Law, Civil Rights Law, for the purpose of this section, an action involving public petition and participation is a claim based upon any communication in a place open to public or public forum in connection with an issue of public interest, or any other lawful conduct in furtherance of the exercise of the constitutional right of free speech in connection with an issue of public interest, or in furtherance of the exercise of the constitutional right of petition. So what this guy Saladino was doing was exactly this. He filed a lawsuit to impede my freedom of speech because he didn't like what I was saying about him. But that's my constitutional right. I can state fact and opinion. That's perfectly right. However, this corrupt judge is a liar, and
he was accusing Paul of raping children with no proof, knowing it was a lie.
He has no problem impeding. He's saying what I haven't been given any chance to participate in this lawsuit whatsoever. And then the tortious interference, serving documents and legal stuff, getting my family involved, forcing me to lose my job, messing with other business assets that aren't relevant to this lawsuit. And then the other new thing added was misuse of the Lanham Act, because I technically have rights to that domain name because I purchased it and did not use it unlawfully, yet the court has seized the domain from me. They just stole the domain name. So, conclusion, there are multiple acts of legal malpractice, court misconduct, and violation of rights that have occurred in this lawsuit that are grounds for dismissal. Frank Tufano requests that he be given a fair trial and that his side of the argument be heard, whether this means that the case has to be backtracked for the initial default filing, or the case be completely dismissed and the plaintiff may bring a new filing. This is just crooked as hell. I filed literally 5 motions to disqualify against the judges in this case. And it's actually funny because a motion to disqualify is when you request that the judge be removed because they're biased against you. But guess who makes that decision? The judge. The judge that you're saying is biased against you gets to decide whether or not they're dismissed from this case. How funny is that? So that's why we file an appeal to the higher court, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, and hopefully get this garbage thrown out before they do any other crooked stuff. Because the issue I had is these people aren't playing by the rules. So he's getting other entities and claiming that's my income. So if this guy is able to basically say that Google earned $5 billion, that's Frank Tufano's income, what other crooked stuff is he going to do if the court issues him a judgment? This guy David Lin, sent a subpoena for a closed business entity. The Frankie's Free Range Meat LLC was my business in New York. That was shut down. It's closed. It's gone. He used that subpoena to get documents from businesses that weren't even in my name and link them to me unlawfully. They're not mine. So if the judge is allowing him to do that, I don't know what other crooked stuff he's going to do with the judgment. So that's the main thing that's why I'm completely over it. And that's the main thing you guys have to understand. There's no legitimacy to this court system whatsoever. And once these people are caught disobeying their own rules, what the court's supposed to do, once these people are caught, they don't care. They just pretend, they just ignore it. They literally ignore what you said and just say some other stuff. If you ever point out anything to a judge that's misconduct or them not abiding by a law, they will intentionally omit it from the filing and intentionally ignore it and try to sidetrack you and distract you and say other stuff. And that's when you file the appeal and you point out what the judge did. So yeah, I can't believe this stuff is going on and that this judge hasn't thrown out this garbage case to somewhat salvage the reputation of everyone involved here. But yeah, I mean, this guy, Paul Saladino, pure evil. Pretty sure I'm allowed to say that. I mean, let's reread that court judgment. So I can't say that Paul Saladino copied, plagiarized, or stole from me. I can't say that Paul Saladino engages in dishonest practices. I can't say that Paul Saladino abuses prescription or illegal drugs. I can't say that Paul Saladino manipulates social media posts. And I can't say that Paul Saladino engages in inappropriate sexual activity. Now, it doesn't say here that I can't call him evil or an Illuminati member or an agent that was sent to destroy my life. It doesn't say that I'm not allowed to say that. And also, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to factually say that he tried to take $33,000 from disabled people. So,
Well, Frank's going to have a lot of fun with that lawsuit. I don't know why he's even saying any of this publicly. Like, this in no way will help him. So he's only, like, putting himself in a position where he can just, get fucked over more. All right, well...